Our series this month of September called Our Ever-Changing World, where we are looking at the idea of alchemy. If you remember, alchemy is that idea of changing one thing into another. Primarily it was lead to gold is what the ancients were trying to do with it. But I think if we look at that today on a more spiritual idea, we can see changing thought to form. Because we've said that anything that we see in our world of form was a thought first, right? It was first designed in mind before it ever became into form. And I've got one of my tenants that has a 3D printer in their office, and I don't know if you've ever seen one of those work, but it's pretty cool because you just watch this thing. They put the thought in it, and then it just makes whatever that is. So it's a wonderful metaphor. 3D printer is a wonderful metaphor for this idea of alchemy, that we're able to print form now, not just copies of something, but to print a new form from the idea. It's kind of cool. It's kind of cool. So last week, we talked about transforming or changing chaos to order. And it was fun last week, wasn't it? We had lots of chaos to get our service up and running, and things weren't working, and it was quite chaotic for us. And today, with this idea of transforming resistance to allowing, we've had a very smooth setup. We were sitting around just chatting for a long time before service started. It was really nice this morning, so I think that's a better way to go with it. So we are going to be exploring these universal truths and the proven practices within the science of mind that can assist us on this being an alchemist within our own life and transforming thoughts to form and transforming some of this chaos to order, and today transforming resistance to allowing. So when we were talking last week about divine order, we discovered that pretty much there is order everywhere. The universe is an orderly system of planets and stars and seasons on our planet and the way things work. We also looked at the example of our own bodies, our own biology, and how that's a pretty sound system that works pretty amazingly most of the time. So there's order, generally speaking. So how come we sometimes feel like there's chaos? Well, it's because we get in there and throw a wrench in it, don't we, through our perceptions and our beliefs and our thoughts and things. So it's almost as if we're paddling upstream. Anybody familiar with Abraham? She uses that example in her teachings about going against the grain, against the flow, and paddling upstream. And if we know that this can be true, that can cause the difficulties. Anybody ever heard Garth Brooks' song, I Thank God for Unanswered Prayers? Anybody ever had an unanswered prayer that you look back on and thank God for, right? I think we all probably do. For in the moment we had that prayer, we thought that was the ideal, because it was the biggest ideal maybe we could think of in that moment, and it seemed perfect. But then, if it didn't work out and we look back, we begin to see how that maybe wasn't the perfect right thing for us. So it is that unanswered prayer, that higher wisdom. So we're watching this all month of order to allow instead of chaos and resistance. So let's talk about resistance today. And would you agree, I saw a statistic, would you agree that our resistance is about 90% of what causes us pain in our personal growth? Think about that for a minute. Would you agree that our own resistance is what causes pain in our personal growth? And it's interesting if we really think about this logically. We're focused on some area of our life that we feel maybe is not going the way we'd like it to go, and we want it to be different. And we've got our focus, we've got our prayers, our affirmations, we're working with a practitioner, we're going in the right direction, we've got our foot on the gas, right, in the direction of that change. But there's a part of us that has that other foot firmly on the brake. Because we're afraid of the change, aren't we? Because it's really an interesting thing in your brain to start working that out and realizing that, but I want this, but I'm not willing to go through the change for it. But I want this, but I'm not willing to go through the change in it. And isn't that sending a very interesting message to universal presence? Well, you're not ready, so we're not going to do anything. Right? We're not going to do anything. So we're resisting the change that by definition is required to accommodate the thing that we want to see transformed. That just doesn't make sense, does it? It really doesn't make sense. But we all do it. I've done it. We all do it. So resistance is our refusal to accept something, or it's our attempt to push away something either through arguing against it or arguing even for our own limitations. Have you ever heard yourself do that or heard someone do that? Yeah, but not there. Yeah, but that won't work there. No, yeah, but. It'll work every place else, but it won't work there. That's arguing for our limitations in our life, this is the reason why it won't work. So is there anything that you're refusing to accept into your life today or trying to prevent in your life today? Is there anything that you've got some resistance around perhaps? What are you seeing reflected around you? Because remember, the universe reflects back to us what we truly believe, what we truly think, what we truly are. And that's not always fun, is it? I've been working on some stuff in my life, trying to shift some things around here and there, move that chessboard around one more time. And when things start to show up and manifest in our life, we've been working on it, it starts to show up, but it doesn't look exactly like we thought it would look. Well, I know the principles, so I know I need to look in that mirror and see how that's me. Well, first off, I want to blame whatever has shown up for a while, that it's their fault, right? They're just not playing by the rules. It's their fault. So I'm blaming the outside. Well, then I finally move through that and get to the point of, okay, how's this a reflection? Well, it's probably this, right? We go to that surface, easy one that we can accept and go, yeah, that's not so bad. I can accept that. But there's something in us that's saying, no. That's not a big enough belief to cause this much grief. So then we continue. If we will continue to do that spiritual work, to continue to peel away those layers, continue to look for that answer. How is this a reflection of me? How am I this thing that's showing up in my life? And for me, it was almost a physical gut punch when I got it. It's like, oh, yes, now I see. Now I see how I've been holding on to this belief all of my life that is now, as I've been working on this thing, it's now showing up right there in full form. But it's taken this level of work and striving to finally get to it and find what it is. And now the question is, what the heck do you do with that, right? That's the next question. That's the next level of work. So stay tuned. I'll keep you posted. Because I don't know yet. We'll just keep working on it and we'll see what happens. But it's that transformation. As long as I was in resistance, that obstacle that I was resisting, that really is where my growth is. Because whatever we have in our life that we're resisting, that we're fighting against, that we're pushing against, that's where our energy's going, isn't it? And what are we doing? Those of you that were in E squared, we know this, right? Wherever we're putting our energy is where we continue to see that stay focused. And if all of our energy is staying focused on what we're resisting, what we're not wanting to see more of in our life, we have no energy left to attract in and bring forward to us what we say we do want. That's the foot on the brake and the gas again, isn't it? It's the foot on the brake and the gas again. So our resistance to this natural flow of life through us creates chaos, pain, and suffering. Our resistance is the roadblock to our good. Those of you who remember the series last summer we did about detours and roadblocks and all that, I've been seeing that picture of the big giant boulder in the road. if you remember that one that we had. And the boulder was bigger than both lanes of this curvy little road. And that's what I keep feeling is our resistance is that boulder that we've got blocking our good coming to us because we're putting so much energy on it. If you think about resistance as being that pushing away energy, it's hard to receive when you're pushing away, isn't it? It's hard to receive when we're pushing away as opposed to allowing. As opposed to allowing. So if we know that that boulder of resistance, that thing that we're pushing against in our life, if we know that that is the place of the most powerful personal growth that we have, our growing edge perhaps, if we know that's it, how do we transform that to being of service to us, to growing through those things, and to move on up that upward spiral of life that we're all in? Well, I think Rumi sums it up nicely when he says, the moment you accept what troubles you've been given, the door will open. The moment you accept what troubles you've been given, the door will open. Now that seems to go against Sounds of Mind teaching, doesn't it? What do you mean, accept the troubles? Just say, oh, woe is me? No. That's not what he's saying here. He's saying that when we accept and we allow and we look at and recognize this is what is, okay, how can I now move into and transform that? And his idea of the door opening is the acceptance. It's the releasing of the resistance and allowing that new to flow through that opening. And what is the opening? What is the open door? Well, that's us, right? We're the open door that allows Spirit then to flow through us. Emerson said, the lesson which these observations convey is be and not seem. Today's vernacular, we might say be real. Don't be inauthentic. Be real, not just seem. Let us acquiesce. Let us surrender. Let us take our bloated nothingness out of the path of the divine circuits. Stop restricting. Let us unlearn our wisdom of the world and learn that truth alone makes rich and great. Isn't that nice? Get our bloated nothingness out of the way and allow the divine to flow through us. Flow through us. The richness of our life experience is created through the portal of our minds, our thoughts, our beliefs. And I would have to suggest that maybe the opposite is the same. If it works one way, it works the other way. Yeah? So it's through the portal of our minds. We are the captains of our ships, the navigators on our path of life. We get to choose. We have free will, free choice. We get to choose. That's the beauty of this experience that we have. But sometimes we forget that, don't we? Sometimes we forget and we get all caught up in the doingness and I've got to do it, it's got to be, I've got to manage it, I've got to control it, I've got to put everything in its right little box and make sure it works a certain way, as opposed to allowing that power and that presence of the universe that is ever available to us to work through us. To work through us for the guidance, for the support, for the divine right action, for the perfect alignment of people, places, and things that need to come into alignment for that manifestation. Our founder and the author of The Science of Mind, Dr. Ernest Holmes, tells us, when he's speaking about the teachings of Jesus, where Jesus said, "It is done unto us as we believe," Holmes goes on to say, we need not coerce and we do not create the power. We don't have to coerce it and we don't create it. But we must let this great power operate through us. We must let this power operate through us. Now, this is not as some outside third-party sort of guy in the sky. This is that power and presence that lives within us. Spirit, God, essence, presence, love, that is right here with us at all times. This is what we tap into. This is what we tune into. As I say, we've talked about this frequently, that God can only do for us what God can do through us. It's not a puppet show. We have free will and free choice. And we can choose to open and allow, or we can choose not to. Ernest Holmes also tells us that we are individualized expressions with free will and choice, and the power to direct the law, which is the avenue through which God operates. The law is the avenue through which Spirit operates. Now, I think this is an important distinction for us in Science of Mind, because sometimes the way we present God, law, manifestation, seed, soil, plant, we've got our teaching symbol that we use, it can almost be perceived as three separate things, can't it? But that teaching symbol is really a basic teaching tool to introduce these concepts to us. And as we continue to grow in our spirituality and our spiritual maturity, we begin to understand that all of those lines that we show in that symbol fade away. And there's really just one. There's really just one. So I like to think about this as God is all there is. It includes the law and all necessary circulation for life. And we are an active and participating part of this team. It's almost like a team, if you think of it. We're here in form. We are the activity, the movement of Spirit and law. God is the creativity, the infinite intelligence, the wisdom, the desire. And then the law is simply the unconditioned doer. Doesn't think, just does. So that combination is what we call the creative process. But we're an active player in that. And I think sometimes we miss that idea that we're an active part of that triune nature, if you will. It's almost like a team. It's almost like a team. And like any good team, we all have to do our part, don't we? And we have to have common goals and desires and unite within that. Are we doing our part? Imagine if it's football season, right? We've got football games today. And imagine if the quarterback is got the play, and it's a passing play, and the receiver's ready to go. The whistle blows, they hike the ball, the quarterback throws the ball down the field towards the goal line, and the receiver goes that way. Now, they're not going to get the yardage. They're not going to get their touchdown, right? Because they're not on the same page. They're not on the same page. They're going in a different direction. They're paddling upstream. This receiver is paddling upstream. So I would suggest that sometimes we might do that. We might paddle the wrong way. I'm seeing some recognition here. We might paddle the wrong way or run the wrong way when the play is called. Because really, in that analogy, I think about that. Have you ever been to a water park where they have the thing called the lazy river? It's like that big circle, and they put you in an inner tube, and everybody goes the same way in the little circle floating down the lazy river. Imagine being in that, turning your inner tube around, and then splashing your arms and kicking your feet, going back against the current and against everybody coming at you. Hold that analogy, because I think we sometimes do that in our own creative process, where we don't stay going with the flow. We try to make it more difficult. So I would invite you to think about turning your boat around. Turn your boat around. Life is meant to be flowing downstream. It's meant to be in the ease and the grace of the divine. And we've already said that many of us have thanked God for unanswered prayers. So isn't some of that paddling upstream? When we're working so hard for something that's just not flowing, it's like, stop paddling. What happens if you're going upstream and you stop paddling? Your boat turns around naturally, doesn't it? Automatically it turns around and goes with the flow. So we kind of splash around in this world of effects and stir things up a little bit when we can kind of flow with the ease of it. Flow with the ease of it. And just know that as we're going with the flow, it doesn't mean it's always going to be smooth. There might be a few rapids. There might be some scary places. But don't those just make us stronger because we're working those muscles? Work a little harder, get a little stronger. Be ready for the next one? Sure. So treat and move your feet. We have a group here called that. And that's part of our teaching, is that not only do we do our prayer work and our treatments, that we also then need to listen for that divine guidance, follow it, and take action, take that movement, because we are spirit-informed, taking the actions here necessary to see that good be made into form in our lives. So treat and move your feet. So how can we do that in this idea of resistance and allowing spirit to flow through us and stopping that resistance, stop focusing on the obstacle as anything more than something for us to learn and grow from, not as something to be destroyed and gotten rid of, but something to learn and grow through. Well, I want to talk about practicing our principles today. And this slide we'll leave up at the end of service if anybody wants to take a photograph of it. And also post it on the website with more information than we have here today. So our first question is, how can I stop resisting what I need to embrace today? How can I stop resisting what I really need to embrace today? By embracing the obstacle, right? By embracing the obstacle, by calling a truce with it and asking, what's mine to do, to know here? What is mine to know? And releasing that resistance, will it allow me to grow? Will it make me stronger? Like Rumi said, accept the troubles and the door will open. It's that releasing piece of it, letting go of the tension, letting go of the struggle. Sometimes just asking for prayer support is enough to have the energy move through us to seeing greater clarity. The obstacle of our resistance is our growing edge. Embrace it. Welcome it. Know that good is on the other side of it. Number 2, how can I be a better team player with spirit and the law? How can I be a better team player with spirit and the law? Realizing that we're never alone and that we always have in us the infinite love and wisdom of spirit and the unwavering support of the law. Recognizing that we've always got that. Our job is to believe and to accept that flow of life through us. Think of that relationship of your team, the specific roles that you're going to play on that team. I think we're the coach. Because we get to direct what the team is going to be doing. We're strategizing. We're calling the plays. And then we allow God and the law to bring the best players for our strategy, for our vision, for our mission. To gather together all of that supports our dream, our vision, our mission. God is infinite intelligence and creativity. The law is the unconditioned yes. Absolutely, let's do it. Let's run that play. And you're the coach, the leader of your life. And then our third one, of course, is our standard, which is our spiritual practices. And our affirmative prayer, our meditation, those are really ways, tools that we can use in becoming the alchemist of our life. They are transformative. They have been in my life, and I know in the lives of many of you here. They work. They work. So I'd like to close this out today with a quote from author Michael Singer, who wrote Untethered Soul. Many of you have done that study with us. He says that if you are resisting something, you're feeding it. Any energy that you fight, you are feeding. And if you are pushing something away, you're inviting it to stay. If you're pushing something away, you're inviting it to stay. So let's take those words into prayer today as we go within, in the recognition that there is only one life. That life is God, and that life is my life now, and the life of each and every one in this room today, and each and every one on our planet. For God is all that there is, and it is in, through, and as all of creation. And that wholeness, perfection, that divine love and light, that joy. And I know, claim, and accept this day peace upon our planet, peace in our hearts, peace in our communities. And I know for those that are remembering at a very personal level the events of 9/11, I know peace for them. I know peace for them. And I know love. And I know that light returns. And I know for each and every one of us here this day that whatever we may be resisting, whatever in our life we're putting up a little fuss about, a little resistance to, that we can set that aside. We can set aside that resistance and allow that doorway of our heart to open for Spirit to move through, for clarity and for that realization of the good, the other side of that resistance, of that boulder. And I know healing, I know love, I know joy, I know compassion, kindness, whatever may be the desire on the heart. I know that it is made fully manifest here and now. And how grateful I am in this knowing, for this truth, knowing that this prayer has already been manifested in the mind of God. So I just simply release it into the action of law, knowing that it's already done, it's already so. It is already whole, perfect, and complete. And so it is.
And so it is.